MediaTalks, the podcast that helps to better understand the world of media and video advertising.
Hello and welcome to the second edition of MediaTalks. During the next 15 minutes, we'll explore together with our guest some issues, opportunities, or market trends that are unfolding in our media industry. Today, we'll specifically talk about programmatic, and I have the immense pleasure to welcome Charlie Glyn from Channel 4. Hello, Charlie.
Hi, thanks for having me on the podcast.
Charlie, before joining Channel 4, you spent many years in the ad tech world, 8 of which at Afiperf and Havas as the head of programmatic. You are now the ad tech lead for 4Sales, Channel 4's ad sales house, where you manage all the sales advertising systems, both linear and digital. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Yeah, so I've done a bit of programmatic, but also now in the TV world. It's a very, very exciting place to be right now.
And as I understand, you're also a member of Bloom UK, an initiative providing professional support for women within the communication industry. And you're also a board member at Clearcast, the UK ad clearance organization. You're a busy woman.
Yes, yeah, a few things going on.
Charlie, so just before we dive in a few weeks ago, you announced the launch of All4 Private Marketplace. Could you just give us a quick overview of what the announcement was about?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, the Channel 4 Private Marketplace it's a new way that you can buy Channel 4 inventory. So programmatic, it might be a familiar concept to many people. For those that are maybe new to it, in a nutshell, operationally, it means that Channel 4 doesn't allocate the ads that will appear to a user when they're watching content. They don't allocate that up front. So what that means is that when somebody is watching one of our leading shows on All4, we actually run an auction in real time every time an ad slot becomes available. That means that advertisers, they can choose to bid if that ad slot is something that they think is valuable to them. And essentially the highest bid wins the ad slot and the ad gets delivered. So we've worked with a number of trusted partners to get this integration all up and running, including yourselves at Freewheel have been our SSP in this whole process. But if buyers want to access our inventory programmatically, they can do so on the DSPs that we've integrated with, which are the Trade Desk and also Google's DSP DV360. So a couple of options there.
Okay, very good. That's nice and clear. So just to dig a little deeper and maybe without going too technical, but could you share what's really important about this and what's the big deal?
Definitely. So coming from a background in programmatic, it grew immensely over the last kind of 10, 15 years, and it's now the standard for digital and video advertising. I think 70% of digital display is done in that way. And then on the video side, it's a huge market now. Like US, I think is estimated at around $14 billion, in the UK at 2.6. So, and this is only growing, right? But the difference is that it's not been a standard way of trading and buying for broadcasters, especially in the UK. And so we're the first ones to do it. And we're very proud that we've managed to finally crack the nut and be able to do it as well, because it's very different compared to normal TV. Like I said, direct TV is organized up front and it's guaranteed, but this is almost completely the opposite. It's a non-guaranteed way of working, and also can be done in real time, depending on when people might need to advertise. It's also been incredibly difficult. It's been a long time coming, and again, why we've been working with with few trusted partners and with yourselves at Freewheel has been really important to us. The mechanics of TV and also by extension, video on demand is the pricing is so heavily interlinked. So working that out to bring the two different ways of working together has been really complicated. And like I said, that's where our close partnerships have been really crucial, because it's been new ground for all of us to work it all out. And we're really excited that we've managed to get this far.
Awesome. Yes. And so in some ways, what are the key benefits for agencies or advertisers or maybe ultimately for the consumer?
So there are numerous benefits. I'd say there's three key ones that I can think of really. That you have flexibility. Like I said, usually you've got everything done up front, but in this situation, you don't have those long lead times. If you, as a brand and an advertiser, have incremental budget or something that you want to make the most out of, maybe a situation where certain advertising would be really, really relevant to a user, you now have the option to put those ads in a premium broadcaster VOD space rather than anywhere else. So it's another option, and that flexibility. It's more accessible. So TV's usually been a really big focus for those larger agencies with trading deals and how it's all managed as well. But this new way of working with programmatic means that it can be a lot more accessible to independents or even for clients that are working and doing their programmatic directly in-house, which obviously is another big growing area for programmatic, where clients are bringing that in-house. But so hopefully that accessibility is another really key benefit. And then lastly, efficiency. So that programmatic has been really pushed as the efficient way of being able to deliver traditional display advertising, and it's now becoming much more mainstream from a video perspective because advertisers pay for the impressions that they value and for the users that they want to hit. So that's already, what's quite interesting is that's already accounted for in linear TV because you pay for the impacts that are generated from the content that the publisher is showing. But programmatic is essentially the digital way of doing that. And like I said, in the guarantee of a brand safe and premium content environment. So those three main things I'd say are the key benefits for everybody, both advertisers and clients directly.
Okay, so flexibility, accessibility, and efficiency.
Yes.
So I just wanted to take a step back and maybe take a more sort of macro vision. How did this change or complement what was there before? And how does it fit into your overall strategy?
So I suppose it's a really changing landscape in terms of the way people are consuming TV. I think anyone that works in this space would be stupid to not acknowledge that because we know that people are moving more towards digital or connected TV devices. So Channel 4 launched their Future 4 strategy in October last year, which essentially just draws a line in the sand and as about what our strategy is moving forward. And we've put digital at the heart of that. So much so we've actually got a specific revenue target of 30% of our revenue to come from digital by 2025. So we've got a real focus on this at the moment. Now, that's pretty risky. We're an ad-funded public service broadcaster, so we need our advertising to work. Otherwise, we won't exist. We don't rely on license fee money, so it's really important for us to get this right. But as a result, it's really important to therefore have the content aligned with what we're trying to do commercially, because if you don't have those two strategies aligned, commercial and content, we can't succeed with this. Like, we can't push new digital advertising solutions like programmatic if we don't have that solid content and that experience for a user to actually enjoy the platform and enjoy what we're putting out there. So that's been really, really important for us. And I think that's always been part of Channel 4, but is even it's an even bigger kind of part of what we're trying to do now to kind of make sure that we've got those two parts aligned, and that's what's going to enable us to go into these kind of new areas like programmatic. For us also, it's about being able to show ads that are relevant to the users as well, which is ultimately what brands want to do too. So I think it's a really exciting new place that we're getting to now, and it's something that the whole business is really gearing towards together, which is fundamentally the only way that this is going to work.
And it's really, for you, it's really following where the viewers are going now into all the digital platforms.
Yes, exactly.
So you alluded to this earlier. I'd say, it took a little some time to get there. What has been the journey to come to this, and in some ways, what's coming next?
Yeah, it's definitely taken a long time, since way before I started at Channel 4. Been thinking about it since around 2015. But to be honest, we prioritized solving other advertiser challenges, which at the time has been about activating them being able to activate their first party data. With the demise of the cookie, and obviously that has since changed. But that was one of the biggest challenges that were facing our advertisers and buyers at the time. As a result of that, we introduced Brand Match, which was our ability, our product that gives us the ability for brands to bring their first party data match with Channel 4's to be in a really privacy compliant way using InfoSum, and be able to then target those across all four. So that's been what we've been focusing on for quite a long time. But now we're out of that, and we're now starting really on the programmatic journey. So what's taken the most amount of time? I'd say checks, because we need to learn from early mistakes of programmatic. It's really important to us that we protect our users. People sign up to all four because we're a logged in app, and it's really important that we protect our users and we make sure that they're fully aware of how their data is being used, but also how they're being tracked. It's really important. And as a result of that, we need to make sure that that doesn't leak in ways that we're not aware of. Again, which is why it's really important we've been working with trusted partners like yourselves. And then another point, to be honest, is that we haven't really had to rush it. We have a very substantial advertising strategy and way of working now with linear, but also on the direct side as well. But that's meant that we haven't had to compromise. So, and that means kind of we can work with trusted partners rather than having to work with anybody that might come along. We've done all the comprehensive checks, so we can validate all those tracking things I mentioned, and also like those legal contracts, they do take a long time to get through. So we've been able to really go through everything and be really happy and comfortable with how we're doing it when we're entering this space, because it is going to grow, and what we set up now is the way it's going to work for a long time, hopefully. So that's been some of the things that have taken the most time, but ultimately we've just had to balance the commercial revenue with user protection. That's number one priority.
Yeah, and get future proof as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But exciting times, though.
Indeed. we pretty much at time already. But before we wrap up, I'd like to finish my podcast on a sort of more personal note. And I wanted just to ask you if you'd like to share something that you deeply care about.
Yeah, I think, and this does sound quite on brand, but it has been such a boost to see things like the Paralympics and the Olympics happen despite everything going on this past 18 months. And then watching Emma Raducanu win the US Open, so I think I'm probably really excited about almost the return of sport, because everyone's been working out in their lounges and doing their own kind of Zoom workouts. And I think seeing that come back to normality is something that I'm really excited about.
Have you started as well your own
yeah
rituals?
Yeah, very little workouts. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Charlie. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights and bring some clarity to a rather complex topic.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Most welcome. And, thank you also to all our listeners for tuning in. And of course, if there are any ideas or subjects that you listener you'd like us to tackle, please let us know, get in touch and send us your suggestion. So we're looking forward to our next Media Talk session. And until then, goodbye.